This is your homework helper, Mrs. Anderson. Today I will help you with Lesson 11, Divide Decimals by Whole Numbers. Please have your homework page ready and let's begin. Looking at this homework helper section, we're dividing a decimal by a whole number. So here if I have 15 and 3/10 divided by 3, I need to ask myself how many times, well, the most important thing to do, the first thing is to put the decimals straight up. Then I ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 1? It won't. 3 is bigger than 1. So I put a placeholder. How many times will 3 go into 15? It'll go 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. And I subtract and get 0 and bring the 3 down. How many times will 3 go into 3? It'll go 1 time. 1 times 3 is 3. And when I subtract, I get 0. So the answer is 5 1/10. Okay, then it says to use multiplication to check your answer. We're not doing that today, but this is how you do it. You take 5.1, your quotient, and multiply it by your divisor. And if you get your dividend, what you started with, then you know that you did it correctly. Okay, so here I have 223 6/10, and I'm going to divide by 40. First thing I do is put my decimals straight up and ask myself, how many times does 40 go into 2? 40 won't go into 2, so I'll put a placeholder. How many times will 40 go into 22? It won't, because 40 is greater than 22. How many times will 40 go into 223? Okay, I'm going to have to figure this out. What I like to do is look at the first number and ask myself, how many times will 4 go into 22? Well, 4 will go into 25 times, so I'm going to try 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 200. Oh, 200 is a good number, because if I go one more, it'd be 240. So I'm going to multiply by 5. 5 times 40 is 200. And I'll subtract. I have 23 and, oh, whoops, I don't need to do the decimal, sorry. Okay, 236. Now I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 40 go into 236? Well, I'm going to do the same thing. I think if I do 5 times 40 is 200. Then when I subtract, I get 36. Okay, so basically I have a remainder of 36, but I don't do remainders when I do a decimal, so I'm going to get rid of that. But 36 is really close to this number that I started with, 40. So that tells me that I'm going to round up. So my answer is going to be 5 6/10. All right, you'll do these other problems the same way. Let's look at the next page. All right, these are already set up for you, so you'll do the same thing. Remember to bring the decimal first and then do the division. Okay, let's look at number 4. 4 girls run a relay and finish the race in 6 48/100 minutes. If each girl ran at the same speed, how many minutes did each girl run? Round to the nearest tenth. I have 4 girls, and I have 6 48/100 minutes. So I'm going to write 6 48/100 divided by the 4 girls. First thing I'll do is put my decimal straight up. 4 goes into 6 how many times? 1 time. 1 times 4 is 4. And when I subtract, I get 2. I'll bring my 4 down, and then I'll ask myself, how many times does 4 go into 24? 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. And I'll subtract. I get 0, and bring my next number down. Bring down 8. How many times will 4 go into 8? Well, 4 times 2 is 8, so that's what it'll be. 2 times 4 is 8. I subtract and I get 0. Now I do notice that this says round to the nearest tenth, so I'll just go to the tenths digit here and then ask myself, is this 5 or higher? No, it's not, so I can get rid of this. So the answer is 1 6/10 of a minute. Okay, moving on. Is the quotient 3 6/10 divided by 9 greater than or less than 1? Well, this is very interesting because I'm doing 3 divided by 9, and 3 is less than 9. So there's no way that it can be greater than 1. So if I do it here, 3 6/10 divided by 9. The first thing I ask myself is how many times will 9 go into 3? And it won't, so I'm going to put a 0 because I'm right in front of the decimal. Then I'll ask myself how many times does 9 go into 36? And 9 goes into 36 4 times. But you can see my answer is 4/10, and that is less than 1. So you'll write that the answer is less than 1, and you can explain it by saying that 3 is less than 9. Okay, you can say, yeah, if 3 is less than 9, then there's no way that the answer can be greater than 1. All right, let's look at number 9. A paper company ships 110 4/10 tons of paper in 4 trucks. If each truck carries the same weight, how many tons of paper are in each truck? Okay, I think I'm going to do it over here so I have a little bit more room. 110 4/10 divided by 4. Okay, first thing I do is bring my decimal up. 4 can't go into 1. 4 goes into 11. How many times does 4 go into 11? 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. When I subtract, I have 11 minus 8 is 3. And bring down the 0. Then I ask myself, how many times does 4 go into 30? Well, I know that 4 times 7 is 28. So now I'll subtract. I can't do 0 minus 8, so I'll need to borrow. 10 minus 8 is 2. And I'll bring down the 4 and ask myself, how many times does 4 go into 24? Well, that's 6. 6 times 4 is 24, and when I subtract, I get 0. So I have my answer right here. 27 6/10 of paper, tons of paper. 27 6/10 tons. Marcel had drama practice 8 7/500 hours from Monday to Friday. If he practices the same amount each day, how many hours does Marcel spend in drama practice each day? Well, first I need to figure out how many days that is from Monday to Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Figure out how many days and divide that in to 8 7/500. Okay, and work the problem out. Thanks for watching this homework helper video. If you have questions, feel free to ask me tomorrow at school.